Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Thanks for checking in the best Houston sports podcast, part of the Bleav Network. And joining me on the screen next to me for some Rockets conversation is the man known simply as Mitty, one of the premier Rockets analysts on social media. He's at Mitty Data on X. And I've never asked you this, Mitty, but do you find any value in these offseason workout videos? Did you make anything of their practices out in Los Angeles?
It depends, right? You'll see some little, micro improvements on some people's cases. You're looking for certain patterns and trends that usually you won't find elsewhere. And it's literally we're starving for Rockets content. So it's just one of those things where everyone likes to overanalyze. It's just 2 possessions or 3 possessions of a player. But one thing that I did see was on Alpe's post-ups, you see Jalen cutting a lot, like very small things. I like that. And before, he wasn't cutting that much in the actual season. So there's things that people pick up on. Also, I'm just watching a little bit of Reed on there. He's just such a sniper. He does need to work on his POA defense, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's hard to get anything out of guys just practicing because they're not going to go all out. They're not going to want to get hurt before the season starts. So, and then there's the other thing with this guy looks more muscular, this guy looks skinny or whatever. And I'm just, okay, well, let's wait. I don't know what, we'll see with all that sort of stuff. But man, the Rockets had 41 wins last year, Mitty. We're all trying to figure out how big a jump in win total they can make. And the ideal scenario is the Thunder. They had 40 wins 2 years ago, 41 for the Rockets. Remember this past year, and they jumped to 57 wins last year. Is that possible?
In my own modeling that I did internally with the specific manual improvements that I did on specific players, I have them winning about 50 plus wins, most likely 52 wins. So we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty confident that we'll go over 50. If it doesn't happen, I'll genuinely be surprised unless there's an injury or someone actually completely not living up to standards. For example, if Jalen had another terrible year, or Alpe regressed, or Jabari regressed, or Alman regressed, or someone got injured, then I see more 45, 48. I think playing territory is for sure guaranteed. That's just my speculation, though. We'll see what happens. The 3 players that I have to really improve are Alman, Jabari, Alpe. I can go over them a little bit more.
Yeah, we're going to go over that in a second.
But yeah.
I did want to ask you, because you said I have them with this many. How do you figure that out? Do you have an algorithm, or what is the basis for you getting to 52 wins?
I'm tracking what happened in the previous seasons with all the different teams and the improvements they made, and then the win improvements they made. So their players, went from 14 points per game to 20 points per game, or whatever, assists per game, and then I'm adding all those numbers up, putting them in a model, and then seeing what they do into the next season. I did that with the Rockets, made some minor adjustments on some players who I think will probably make bigger improvements than people are actually predicting. I don't think Jalen is going to be shooting 33% from the 3 again, unless, we'll see what happens. It's hard to predict Jalen specifically, but I think Alman will be much more efficient. I think Alpe will be much more efficient, and Jabari will be much more efficient. So you make those little minor adjustments on the players, and then you see what happens with the model, and the model kind of understands adjustments you made, and it spits out a number, and it tries to predict your win percent or your win total. And I got about 52. I'll probably share the data on Twitter one of these days, but so far it's just been kind of just internal stuff that I've been working on.
And I keep making this point, and I just feel like I can't drill it in enough. When you watch the NBA, for as long as I watch the NBA, depth matters, and the Rockets have had 0 depth the last few years. It wasn't as bad last year, but still, when somebody went down, it was 38 minutes of Aaron Holiday or 38 minutes of Jeff Green. Well, now you've got, Rockets fans are like, well, what are we going to do? We've got so many guys that need minutes, Mitty. We have so many. How do we get them all minutes? And injuries in the NBA are undefeated. 16 back-to-backs will cause some guys to get rest days, or somebody is going to need some more time off on a given night or whatever. And so not only the Rockets, 9 or 10 for sure rotation deep, if you want to count Reed Shepard, it's 10, but then you go beyond that and you got, back of the bench if you need them. If Steven Adams needs back-to-back offs or whatever happens with him, you have Landale, who's going into the season healthier than he went into the season last year. And you've got, all those other guys like Aaron Holiday and Jeff Green and Jayshawn Tate. And now if somebody goes down, like I was telling Frank the other day, it's like 10 or 15 minutes of that player instead of 30 minutes of that player or 35 minutes of that player. As long as they're not beset by a million injuries to their front line guys, it should be better, Mitty. There's no question. I think in any algorithm, you got to look at who's the replacement level guy on a roster, because this stuff happens all the time, every year.
Just adding Tari and Steven Adams is just already such a big jump, and that's not even including the improvements players are going to make. But if you just add Tari back to last year's roster, I think playing was an easy target for us. I mean, just the last month and overall, I think we won about. We were one of the best teams in the NBA at that point. Jalen Green was one of the best players in the NBA, but at that point, we were facing our easiest level of opponents the entire season. I think it was about 10 games straight of just negative 3.8 rating average. That was the average of the net ratings of those teams. It was easy for us, but that's already in the schedule before the season even starts. So we went through a big stretch where we struggled a lot, and that was against really good teams. We had a stretch where we actually played well against really good teams as well. But throughout that entire season, our 41 wins was probably our target. I said 41 wins last year, and we hit 41 wins. So, I mean. You
talk about what happened last year. Let's not forget, Ahmed Thompson and Cam Whitmore. It took about half the season before some injuries with them, the G League, all of that sort of stuff, before they were ready to even contribute to the Rockets. So the first half of the season, you didn't have those guys. And, I said depth, like when Van Vliet went down last year and when he was not right, it was bad. When Dylan Brooks went down, all that stuff happened in the middle of the year, and you have nobody to replace them. Now, you've got guys that, second and third level that, hey, can come in and might be able to do something. Now, Fred's probably the hardest guy to replace, but at least you've got the guys, Mitty, right? You got somebody.
No, absolutely. So adding Tari and Steven Adams, but also when Amin takes a leap and Cameron Whitmore also improves from a rookie year to a sophomore year, that's already a big jump. Because last year we were bringing in two players that were complete rookies. Cam Whitmore was one of the best points per 36 minute scores in the NBA. It was by a wide margin. And Amin was just he was a 99th percentile defender. And adding those players back in, but also having them improve is a big difference. Tari's just going to be a monster. He's going to be another Amin, but he's going to be able to shoot a little bit better. He's going to be a little bit more, able to help out with Amin and also be a little bit more versatile, especially on offense. And then Steven Adams is just we for a large portion of the season last year. Also, you have to remember we didn't have a backup center. We had Jock Landale, but he didn't give us good minutes. Everything after that, I think we had Jeff Green.
Yeah, Jeff Green was the de facto guy, basically. Yeah. No question about it. One of the things that we mentioned was OKC, but just in terms of the young cores, you got Orlando out there, Indiana. How would you compare the Rockets to some of these other young cores around the league?
Let me just start by explaining our core right now and how I view them. This is my personal view of them. It's not like the standard or whatever. There's a lot of people that may disagree. If you look at the whole NBA, you have your 1 tiers, top 1 to 10 player. Like I'm talking like a Shea, a Luka, a Devin Booker, one of those guys. And then you have the tier 2, which is like, I guess I would say top 20 to 25 player. And that's kind of like your Bam, Wemby, AD, like those players that are second, I think in the second tier. Me personally, I think we already have a 1.5 to a second tier prospect on our team, and that's Alpi. So I think he compares. He's in the same league as Chet, Wemby, Jalen Williams, and then Paulo as well. Paulo is there as well. Why I say that is because Alpi is one of the best 2-point scorers in the game by far. I pulled the metrics from last year in terms of post-ups, drive-ins, rim touches, post touches. He was ranked on my list number 6, and this is ahead. And obviously above him are Giannis, Joel, Jokic, and some others that I'm not remembering right now. And then Zion as well, because Zion is an amazing scorer in the paint and also just amazing driver. But he's ahead of Ja Morant, he's ahead of Luka, and he's ahead of some other players. Luka hasn't beat on the mid ranges, obviously. So there's a lot of other people. But in the post, he is one of the best players in the NBA, top 5. Not only that, his clutch metrics, I think he's ranked about 10th in points per 75 in clutch time. So that's one of the best as well. And he's ahead of a lot of other players. I think he's ahead of LeBron on that metric as well. Self-creation. Jalen hasn't beat on self-creation, but make no mistake about it. Alpi was doubled on 83% of his post-ups last year. So he was obviously he was getting crowded, and he was very inefficient in that area. But he is one of the best self-creators as well. And then I think he's average on defense, and I think that's kind of what you need, especially if you have other people picking up for you. You have to put more weight on the offense than the defense. Defense can be about 35%. I think offense is 30 or 65%. What matters is your team defense, your aggregate team defense. And if you have a bunch of lengthy wing defenders, your defense does not matter as much. This is not the 1990s anymore where you need like a rim protector just as your five. Everyone in the court can be a rim protector, especially people. And the Celtics showed it, like Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Al Horford. Alperen Sengun was a better rim protector than Al Horford. In the metrics, it's right there. He was better than Al Horford in rim protection numbers. And he beat him by a lot, too, in terms of volume. But guess what? I mean, the Celtics won the championship, and Al Horford was a big piece. Why? Because you don't need – and rim protection is a big deal, but it's not necessarily needed to be from the center. It can come from the team. So I have Sengun as a 1.5 to a 2 tier. Amin, I think he has a potential to be a 2 or 3 third tier prospect, right? He has a long way to go. He needs to actually have an offensive game. He does have an offensive game, but I'm talking more a suitable 3-point jump shot. But he is a 99 tier defender. But again, when you view prospects, you view him more, give more weight to the offensive side. So if Amin can just get a higher assist percentage, he can be probably in the third tier, kind of around Brandon Miller, and I think he's definitely gonna be better than Brandon Miller, closer to Jalen Williams, and possibly even eclipsing Jalen Williams towards the end. But he just got in, and he's about 22 years old. There's a lot of room.
The biggest thing that we know is who can turn into a top 10 player. I mean, I don't know if Indiana and Halliburton can do that, but he's the best one, as far as Indiana is concerned. And Paolo definitely seems to have the ability maybe to do something like that and turn into top 10. He's working on the same issue that Jalen is. He's got to improve his efficiency. Both of those guys are not very efficient. If you look at some of the other young cores around the NBA, it's hard to see where the number one guy, the guy that's going to pull the team up regularly and may be able to carry you to a championship. Because, I mean, you've got to have a top 10 guy, right? I mean, outside of maybe the Pistons in 2004, it's hard to find any kind of evidence that you can do it without that. Can you, Mitty?
Yeah, no, you definitely need, I think you definitely need a star power. You definitely need star power. The Celtics showed it with, I love Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but they're about, 9 or 10. Like, they're around that area. They're kind of on the border of top 10, but I don't remember the exact ranking I had for them, but they're not like your Luka. They're not going to be your Giannis. They're not going to be your Joel Embiid. They're amazing players, but you need to surround them with great players, and that's what the Celtics did, and that's how they won the championship in a very easy way. They beat the Mavs really easily. Not a lot of people would agree with me. Maybe a lot of people may have disagreements with what I have to say. I think Alfie's going to be a top 10 player in a couple of years or so. I mean, as a 21-year-old. He's one of the best offensive players in the game. He's one of the best 2-point scorers in the game. Self-creators. He's clutch. All he needs to do is work on his 3-point shot, become average on defense. And I think he's already average on defense. If he becomes above average, that's a plus. And I think he's going to be more like a Paul Gasol. And Paul Gasol in his days, he was an All-NBA player. He was a top 10 player. He was a star. I think Amin's going to be the number 2 guy. Or next offseason we might get that other 1A or 1B or 2A or whatever, if Devin Booker comes or whatever. And, there's the wild card of Jalen. If Jalen actually is able to get a consistent open 3-point shot, if he's able to make his catch and shoot shots, because Devin Booker can do that. Devin Booker is very efficient on his catch and shoot threes. So is Jamal Murray. And that's his comparables. If he can do that, we're cooking with something. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because a lot of these guys, okay, what's the leap that they're going to make this year? What's Paolo going to do? Can Ty Halliburton stay healthy? Wemby, obviously, I've even mentioned his name, but he's the guy that everybody would go, well, I'm going to bet on them because they got Wemby, and that guy can be top 10 this year in his second year, which is crazy if he puts it all together suddenly, and it looks like he can. I also want to remind everybody in our audience, let me hear what you guys think. Share your thoughts in the YouTube comments, click the like button to support the show. And hey, this month we're celebrating our 11th anniversary. I can't believe it, as a podcast. If you love the history of the Rockets, Astros, Texans, Cougars, there's a Houston Sports History and Memories playlist with over 200 videos on YouTube, tons of interviews with legendary players and media. If you haven't done so already, also subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Don't forget to watch our live Texans postgame shows, which we usually will do right after the game ends. All right, Mitty, I want to get to what I know you want to talk about probably more than anything. And I asked this question to our friend Frank a couple of days ago, and I want your take too. Which Rockets player do you believe makes the biggest improvement this season? We know you love Şengün. We know how you feel about some of the other guys. And by the way, Frank made the case for Jabari, so I'm sort of fascinated which direction you're going to go with this.
You'd be surprised to say, but I'm agreeing with Frank there. I think Jabari's going to take the biggest leap, and deservedly so. He needs to. Last year, he was the best rim protector on the team, and he was one of the best rim protectors in the league. He also shot, I think, about 37% from three, which is okay. It's average, but we want to see more. If Jabari can continue that, because this is kind of what people projected him to be when we first drafted him. 3-and-D wing player. He's going to give you a couple, like 16, 17 on decent efficiency, shoot a couple of threes, potentially guard one, I guess 3 through 5, sometimes 2. If you can improve that efficiency, get that maybe up to 38, 39 on a little bit more volume, be able to defend. I don't think he's that great of a rebounder, but if he can actually continue to get rebounds while Alpi boxes out, or Steven Adams boxes out, or whatever, or run the 5 with those small ball lineups and improve his stock percentage, which is steals and blocks, I think he has a big shot to be the most improved player on the team, and also one of the most valuable. So if he can improve what I'm talking about and get those numbers up and do his job and do his role, he's going to have one of the best on-off numbers on the team, and that's what I'm looking for to improve the most this coming year. Not Alpi. I know Alpi's already good, and I know there's still room for improvement, but if Jabari can make that big jump, we're going to be in easy conversations for a 50-plus win season.
Just at a counterpoint, Jabari last year, I can only think of, there was really like this 3-game stretch where he looked like he turned it on another level. If you remember, there was a 3-game stretch where he averaged like 25 to 30 a game, and he was just filling up all the columns. And I'm like, okay, if he can get to that on a consistent basis, but he only did it for really that little small stretch. Why do you think Jabari over Jalen? Because Jalen, it's really a matter of just knocking out those terrible games, those bad where he didn't even show up, where Udoka had to bench him, in the fourth quarter or a lot of the second half because he just wasn't there defensively. It feels like everybody, and everybody like accused me, by the way, of like, I don't like Jalen Green, but like, man, no, I love the potential. It's just, I got to see him do it every night. That's what scares me. But that's the thing, Mitty. If he gets those nights straightened out, and we've seen more of him have those spectacular nights than Jabari. So it's just like, if he knocks out the bad ones, isn't he the most improved player? Because God knows what he can do if he can just, eliminate a bunch of those bad nights.
Well, if everything clicks right for Jalen, obviously he's going to be the most improved player. I'm talking like he's shooting like 26 or 27 on good, decent efficiency. If he can do that, that's obviously like most improved by a mile. And that's like a ceiling. That's a ceiling. But the reason why I say Jabari is that it's closer to hit. Like, it's easier for Jabari to still be like, because he's still going to be a role player. He's not going to have like the number 2 option, number 1 or number 2 option. Maybe not even number 3 option. He's gonna be like a number 4 option, but he's just gonna be such a good versatile defender and a great shooter and very efficient and kind of like one of your as Frank likes to call them, release valves or whatever. If he can do that, I think it's very, very easy for Jabari to be one of the most improved players.
You're throwing a lot though with Jabari, and you and Frank are both doing this. You're throwing a lot on him up in his shooting percentage. And if you look at the first season, we saw the numbers jump up those last couple of months of the first season, his shooting percentage. And basically what we saw last year with most of his shooting was what we saw those last 2 months. So we had an indicator. As the year went on last year, I was hoping for some more indications that there's more room that's going to jump. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to jump, but it's a lot based on his shooting. And maybe where I think it's going to be harder for Jabari to show a jump is if he has a rough start to a game. We just said it, they're much deeper. So he's going to get pulled, whereas Jalen is such a really fulcrum of the offense. Jalen can start off a little bit rougher than Jabari and still play, whereas Jabari, if he's having a rough night, he's not going to get center minutes as much because of Steven Adams and Jock Landale. He's not going to get the benefit of the doubt because if Tari is healthy and some of these other guys now, Cam, Amen, they're all waiting to play and take over some of Jabari's minutes. You know what I mean? So it's going to be harder for him.
Well, I think that's what we drafted Jabari for, to be the 3-and-D wing, and I think he's worked at it. I'm looking at the data that I have of his monthly averages. Jabari technically only had 1 month where he shot below 68% on his threes, and that was the month of February.
You said 68%.
Sorry, I'm dyslexic. 36%.
Okay.
Yeah. No. There's 2 months where he shot above on big efficient, on like a lot of volume. He shot at 41% from three, and 2 months where he shot around 36, 38 percentile. But, I think that's doable for Jabari. And like, he was obviously one of the most improved. I think Alpi was the most improved, and then Jabari was the second most improved from 2022, 2023 to the last year. So like Jabari's rookie year to sophomore year, I think Alpi was the most improved, and then Jabari, because he shot so bad his rookie year from like what we expected,
right?
That what he did his second year is pretty good, and I think he was very improved, and I think he's going to keep improving on that because honestly, 36% is just average. It's just average in the NBA, and if he can get that up, and because he's a shooter, that's why he gets that's why he got drafted. The thing about Jalen, the reason why I'm hesitant about Jalen and why I'm pumping the brakes, although I think he's gonna. This is what I think. I think he's going to be above average. I think he's going to be above average next year. He's going to get around like 22, 23 points per game on better efficiency. I don't think he's going to go crazy and like hit like 27 points per game, 28 points per game on good efficiency, which I would love. But it's just such a hard task for him to do, and especially since we're coming from a place where he hasn't done it. Jabari has improved a lot. Like I'm talking a lot from like his 2 years. Jalen more so has kind of had like a roller coaster. So it's hard to predict because I look at people's, previous seasons like Jamal Murray, Devin Booker, his comps because he's a volume scorer. Those guys are also volume scorers and somewhat of a creator. Their third years, they were on fire from three, catch and shoot or whatever. Devin Booker kind of fell his fourth year. He shot a little bit bad, but more so like their first 3 years, they shot pretty well, like insanely well. And they had maybe one bad year. He's been very inconsistent for me to be comfortable, but if he can I think he can do this. If he can just hit his open shots, because that's what it is, open catch and shoot shots. He's good on pull-up shots, but if he can hit his open catch and shoot shots, we are cooking with something.
One of the things Jabari has got to start doing is, he doesn't always do the catch and release. He's not a catch and release guy. It sometimes takes him a little bit to get into that mode. He's not Klay Thompson, in other words. So that would help out maybe just, because it takes out the thinking factor and you get into a better rhythm if you're doing something like that. So that's one thing I would like to see him improve. Now, as far as Jalen is concerned, everybody might remember this. John Lucas said the fourth year was when he was going to make the jump. So, I just thought that was interesting. He said that before last year. So we'll see what John Lucas knew or did not know. And the other thing we got to remember is maybe Jalen Green's going to have some dad strength now. You're discounting the dad strength. You're discounting it.
I'm not discounting. I'm saying he's going to hit it. He's going to be like, in terms of like the projections, he's going to be above average, which is actually really good in the NBA. It's like 24 points per game, and he's going to be on good efficiency as well. He has a lot of competition. Like if you're going to be a volume scorer in the NBA, you got to be putting up the numbers, and you got to be on good efficiency as well. Because when you give him volume, a lot of stuff could happen. But I love Jalen Green, and I think he's going to be able to hit his projections, which is about 24 points per game on good efficiency. His ceiling is about 27 points per game. If he can hit that, I'm talking like they will give this guy a max along with Şengün if both of them perform very well, because that's what they're looking for. That's what the Rockets are looking for. They're looking for someone like Jalen Green, specifically Jalen Green, to hit that upper ceiling. If those two guys, Jalen and Alpi, takes us to the second round of the playoffs and they're both playing amazing, we're giving them both the maxes, and they're both coming back, and we have a squad. Like I think it's a very easy, it's either Jalen hits his ceiling or he hits above average. We'll see what happens, but I think he can do it.
Got a real quick thing, and then we'll close it out. But last year we saw Udoka clean up some little things like the fast break points on defense, for example. Is there anything at the margins? Give me something like one little stat that you think they can improve on this year.
Oh, assist percentage. We were one of the worst creators in the NBA. A lot of our points came, I guess, self-created or didn't even come at all. And like I think we were one of the highest in potential assist percentage. But if we can just increase the amount of assists we make per game, and also the amount of passes and touches we have per game, like I think we will be a better team by that. And those are one of the things that I think Udoka is also going to look at. He's also going to look at this is for a sure fact. I know this for a fact. We are going to be shooting about 35 threes, 40 threes per game. We're going to be shooting a lot of threes. I don't know the average, but we're going to be in the upper percentile. Whatever Boston did, I think they shot about 35 to 40 threes per game. He's going to aim for that. It doesn't matter if it's on mediocre shot quality or whatever. we are getting those shots up for sure. So assist percentage and 3-point attempts per game.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the 3-point attempts going up if it means Jalen's attempts are going to be about the same or higher, because I don't have the confidence that a lot of people have that it's just going to, all of a sudden he's going to figure out the 3-pointer. It's going to take it takes years usually for guys to inch their way back up into this. And one of the things that I think could be much better this year, not that it was bad last year. Do you remember where they ranked in rebounds or rebound percentage?
We were one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the league. I know that for a fact.
Well, let's just say if that's the case, while you're figuring that out, let's just say overall, I could see a real nice improvement because Tari Eason missed most of the year. There was no Steven Adams. Those two are great rebounders. And then Amen Thompson, who was fantastic, but he only played the second half of the season. Now, if Amen stays healthy the whole season and Tari Eason and Steven Adams all stay healthy, that's a lot of glass right there that's going to be eaten from those guys. So, that's something I'm really looking forward to see, like what happens with the rebounding, because now it's like, okay, you might be able to stop us, but are you going to get the ball after you stop us? You mentioned defense, but I'm talking about like offensive rebounding. Those guys can do some havoc right there.
We were already 9th in offensive rebound percentage in the NBA last year. So that's pretty good. Defensive, I think we were about 16th, ranked 16th, which I think we'll need to improve on. We can get better on the defensive side in terms of rebounding. And also, rebounding gives you more possessions, especially on offense. If you can rebound on offense, you get that extra possession back. You can take a shot or do whatever, but you have that possession. The ball is not in the opponent's hands when it should be. Offensive rebounds we were one of the best in terms of that. I think you mentioned, Jalen shooting more threes. Well, everybody's going to be shooting more threes, not just Jalen. Everybody will be, whoever's open, whoever's man comes off to, guard Jalen or guard Alpi or double Alpi or whatever, just kick it out and pass it to the open man. So I'm excited, man. There's a lot of new options available. You have Reed Shepherd. Cam Whitmore's going to be in there as well. He's going to play a couple of games. Those guys are going to be important for us. So I'm excited. Yeah,
no question. We're all excited to see what this team's going to do. And one of the things that we always do when we have you on is, we talk a little bit about, what's going on with the Rockets, but you not only do the Rockets stuff, but you've got a website, centersculture.com. Tell people about that.
It's already available at centersculture.com, but I am coming out with a V2 update, V3 update actually. You're going to have a lot of cool stuff. You're going to be able to see game analysis. You're going to see trends from teams, like 3-game trends, 5-game trends from teams playing a specific game. So if the Rockets got a game on December 10th, you're going to be able to see all the games they played before, December 5th, 6th, whatever, and see how they ranked on offense, ranked on defense. And then player metrics, you're going to be able to see a little bit more of the players, month-by-month data that you can't see from other websites. I'm one of the only websites that really tracks pull-up threes, catch-and-shoot threes, a lot of player tracking data. So, it's going to be very exciting. Yeah, I'm going to be posting about it a lot on Twitter. And coming soon also, predictions for betting and fantasy, and also a chat GPT specifically for basketball analytics. So you can ask it anything and it will tell you whatever you need to know about what you're asking about. Like, let's say you're saying Jalen Green. How many shots did Jalen Green shoot last year, and rank it to Jamal Murray, and it will spit everything out exactly for you. It'll be as accurate as possible. That's coming out later in the year. Right now, just simple, straight stuff, and also free player comp. So you don't have to use the StatHead one or from Basketball Reference anymore. They have to pay for it. You can use mine, and it's free, and it's better, and it gives you more information.
Are you working on an app or anything for this chat GPT, like NBA sports version, I guess? Or
well, it's gonna be on the website, so you'll be able to log in, create an account. Unfortunately, I probably have to make it a premium service because it does take some money to create the chat GPT for that specific purpose and run API requests back and forth. But it's going to be on the website. Everything's on the website. I don't have an iPhone app yet, maybe later, but right now, everything will be available to you on the website.
Yeah, that's good, unique stuff. Go check it out. Again, it's centersculture.com. If I'm doing my job, I'm going to try to get it up into the description of this show so you can find it there. But centersculture.com is where you go for that. Always good to catch up with you, Mitty. Oh, my God, I can't wait. Let's get to the season already. We've only got just a month away.
Absolutely. Super excited. Let's see what happens. Training camp's coming up and preseason games as well.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, don't forget to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about us and share our show links on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.